Dear folks of Baba, tonight we have as our guest Stuart Baker, who was part of the Boston Baba group that formed in the early 1970s. Prior to that, though, at the age of 15, he experienced a profound discontent, and what welled up inside him was an overwhelming desire for the deepest truth and happiness. He describes how he, quote, silently made that desire known to the universe, unquote. At the time, he knew nothing about God. What followed unexpectedly was a spiritual awakening that began a gradual clearing away of his imperfections and impurities, which revealed to him a whole new dimension of himself. But after about a year, to his horror and grief, this divine experience was suddenly and gradually withdrawn with no explanation. He was left utterly empty and broken. In 1970, Mayor Baba entered his life and let Stuart know that he was one and the same as the nameless, formless God that he had experienced several years before. He put, quote, one drop of his love, unquote, in Stuart's heart and conveyed to him that, quote, it was his turn to work his way back to me, and wished him good luck. The last 54 years have been that journey. Stuart will be happy to answer any questions as he shares his story, and at the end, he will lead us in a brief, heart-centered meditation on Baba that he has led Baba lovers on over the last several years. This evening will be a very meaningful glimpse into Stuart's interior life, which began with a profound awakening, followed by years of inner work, which has led him to where he is today. And it ends with a quote from Rumi: if the door of your soul were to open for an instant, you would see that the heart of every existent thing is your intimate friend. In his love, Jeff.
Okay. So I first met Stu in 1971 on his first trip to the center. And there used to be like a backboard and a basketball hoop on one of the trees, nailed to the tree, near the night watchman cabin and near the lagoon cabin. And we got into a rough and tumble 2-on-2 basketball game. And apparently we were so much into this bubble that we lost complete any under sense of what was going on. And the next day, when we went there, Elizabeth Patterson had taken down the basketball hoop and the backboard, so we must have been making too much noise for the people in the lagoon cabin nearby who were meditating. So that was we kind of got we violated things right to the very beginning, but we've been good friends all the way from 71 to the present. And I didn't mention in the email, and I should have, that Stu worked with, down in the black community here in Myrtle Beach in the 70s, and he and this was part of a project that Elizabeth Patterson was involved in to helping this community. And I think Stu, you probably helped to build that clinic down there, the medical clinic, and am I
Yes,
right there?
the clinic and also Mary Leiter's neighborhood house, the
Yeah.
Child Development Center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. And then in more recent years, he's been working as one of the main carpenters on the center. So those new railings or, walkways, renovations to cabins, and you know, redoing the play structures out in the playground. Stu has been silently doing that kind of seamlessly. So these things you can enjoy them without necessarily knowing how it all was done, but he's one of the main people in there who does that. But anyway, so Stu, go ahead. You take it from there, and like I say, he's open to any questions along the way. Don't hesitate, and this is a story that many of us have had to deal with in over the years with Baba. So go ahead, Stu.
Okay, well, thanks, Jeff. And
And
J. Baba,
his sweetheart is where is she? Danusha. There she is up. Danusha up in the upper right corner of my screen.
she's up there?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I haven't seen her yet.
Okay, she's there.
I'll take your word for it. Well, thanks, Jeff, my good
Yeah,
friend. And actually, I'd prefer if we could hold questions until the end of uh, my little talk here. And then maybe we can have some questions and answers and then have the meditation at the end. So I'd
yeah,
prefer to do that, Jeff.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah. And I should mention that this meditation, Stu does every second Tuesday of the month, and it's really well worth.
Wednesday,
I mean, what am I saying? Every
Wednesday. Yeah.
yeah, second Wednesday, and it's well worth. The focus goes very much on Baba and someone that you want to send this love to. So it's beautifully done.
And I'll just make note, it would be this Wednesday, but it's July 10th. So it's being put off to the following week.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. So I hope you enjoy this. It's been an interesting life with Baba, I will say that. So my mother was really the most difficult person in my life, and from a very early age, very dedicated mother, wife, homemaker, but I just found her to be really intrusive into my being. And I knew that as a very young child, as a toddler. And I remember one day I was 5 years old and she said, I want to call Robert's mother, this boy's mother, and see if you can go play with him. And I said, I don't want to do that. And she said, no, I want you to do that. And I said, no, I don't want to. And she went ahead and she did it. And I ended up sitting with this boy and I had the thought, am I just an extension of my mother? Is that me? You know, just do what she wants. And it was very barren feeling. It was awful, you know, but that was 5 years old. And anyway, you know, life went on. And then one day I was 15 and she and I were talking about life. And she said to me, life is hard and unfair. The best we can hope for is to cope, and we can know nothing about God. And I said, God, that is so bleak. I said, I don't buy it. Sorry. And she said, you're so naive. I'm just trying to save you the trouble of finding out that I'm right. And I said to her, if you're right, something's really wrong. And in my head at the time, I thought, like maybe the Marx Brothers are running the universe, you know, Groucho, Harpo, and Chico. And it might have been that night, might have been a night or two later. But as I went to bed, I was laying on my back. And suddenly, I didn't know where this came from. And what came up, you know, and Jeff alluded to it in the write-up. I said, like almost beside myself, there are three things that I want. I want truth with a capital T. I want to know the truth of the universe. I want happiness with a capital H. I want profound happiness. And I want to feel really good about myself. And I just kind of launched it upward. And I remember I quickly got this deep breath, the deepest breath I'd had in quite a while. And a little sense of a calm, a little slight bit of an answer. And I said to myself, well, maybe there's something out there. And I came back to that place inwardly the next night and kind of waiting, you know, is anything going to happen? Nothing happened. I came back the next night and nothing happened. And finally, I said to myself, well, maybe I've got to do something. Try to knock on the door to whatever this might be out there. What could I do? And what came to me was to pay attention to people who I admired. That's what came up in me. And why did I admire them? So I started doing that. I was this 15-year-old kid, and I went to school, then I had a summer job, I had friends. And the things I was noticing that I was drawn to in people, what I admired, it was strength of character, integrity, confidence, humor, cheerfulness, helpfulness, and kindness. I didn't admire people like who made jokes at the expense of others. I could feel the pain of that. And doing this little meditative process really started to take me out of the self I was used to, and it started to expand me. And as this happened every night before I went to sleep, I'd lay on my back, have my eyes closed, and I started to become aware of this light. And it was very soft at first, and a presence that came with it. And I returned to this every night, and bit by bit by bit, that light got a little stronger. The presence got a little stronger, a little clearer. And I felt more and more connected with the people who I kind of meditated on. And I was starting to kind of shed some of the cloak of who I'd been used to in myself. And anyway, after I'd say a few months of this, and it just kept growing. It wasn't like one experience that was static. This expanded every single day. And after a few months, finally, this question came to me. And I said, oh my God, if I ask this, it's going to change everything forever. But I had to ask it. And the question was to ask the presence, are you God? So I did. And immediately there was this answer, I am none other. And I just got knocked backwards into my bed, and I just lay there silent for a moment. And then I said, why me? I'm this 15-year-old kid. What do I know? Why am I having this with you? And he said, don't ask, it's meant to be. I said, well, what do I do? And he said, you just pay attention to me. I know you far better than you know yourself. I know everything you need. I know everything as it should be. Just pay attention to me. And I said, that's it, really? And I said, I've made all these efforts. And he said, no, this has been me. And I finally agreed. It took a little bit, but I finally said, okay, it's you. I hardly believe this, but I'm actually talking to God, who's made himself available to me. And anyway, when he said, just pay attention to me, it was literal. And the closeness of him became so great and so immediate, I didn't even want my own thoughts because they got in the way of his presence. Just a 10-second thought in my head, 5-second thought got in the way of being in his light, and that's how present he was. And as this whole experience went on, every night, after a while, he'd kind of give me an urging to reach toward others more and step out of myself, step out of my comfort zone. Like if I saw somebody seemed upset, maybe go over ask, is there something wrong, anything I can do? And I'd start to draw people out in that way. And I started to just be supportive to people, just say nice things. And they were well received. And I worked on developing more humor. I worked at, in a way, kind of being a bit of a teenage comedian, but always not at the expense of somebody else. I learned that just let it be harmless, do no harm. And as I was able to focus on others and feel the characteristics that I admired, eventually I was able actually to step right inside their heart centers. And I knew, oh my God, this is sacred ground. And I asked God, I said, is this okay? Should I even be here? And the answer came back, as long as you're reverent, it's okay. But if ever there's a moment that you're not reverent, then no. But shortly after, I became able to do that, I felt like I want to be really careful with this. But, at the same time, I was becoming the best version of myself I'd ever been. The most confident, happy, most outgoing, within boundaries. And then one night, with my nightly session with God, suddenly he said to me, I am nameless God. And I saw inwardly in these big block letters, like this marquee, nameless God. And I just said, okay, yes. And anyway, this just kept going on. I went to the high school boys state, I think as a junior. It's a gathering of like 4 or 5 students from high schools around the state, and had a wonderful time being there. Had a summer job. And all the while, God was my best friend. And he kept teaching me more and more inwardly. At the same time, he kept drawing up in me imperfections, and it was my ego. So something I was upset about, something I was angry about, something hurtful, maybe, something I was self-conscious about, but just my ego in all these forms. And one by one, he'd bring these things right before me, and I had to face them the best I could. And as I did, when I'd wrestled enough, honestly, then he would just take it away and lighten me. And this happened every day, sometimes more than once a day. And sometimes they were these boulders. I'd see them coming. And after a while, I'd get a feeling for what it was, but it hadn't come into the zone of contact yet inside me. And at first it was like, oh God, I don't really want to deal with these things. But the fact is, every time I did, this nameless God opened a bigger world and a bigger self inside me. I didn't wear glasses or anything, but my eyesight literally became crisper and crisper. The world became sharper and sharper in front of my eyes. And sensitively, I became more and more connected to everything. And to the point that it really seemed that God had revealed himself to me in everyone and everything around me. And finally, this one night, had this experience with him where there's that famous painting of God reaching down from the heavens, with his finger, and basically this chasm appeared between God and me, and there was no bottom to the chasm. And he put out his hands and he said, "Leap." And I said, "Are you kidding? Look, there's no bottom down there." And he said to me, "Have I ever let you down?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Then leap." And I gathered myself up, and I actually had to, with all the strength I could inside, just kind of throw myself at him across the chasm. And he caught me, beaming at me. And he said, "Now we're really going to fly." He was proud of me. He was happy. And again, life just kept opening. He taught me more and more. I pretty much, I'd get like instructions from him at night to apply the next day. And they all had to do with being kind toward others and applying what he had taught me the night before. Later, in doing research for the book, Mayor Baba's Gift of Intuition, I read where Baba said, if you don't apply the intuitions given to you, that they'll dry up. And I felt like at that time, by then, I think I turned 16 years old. I was having the experience with God of him teaching me these things to be brought into everyday life. And at some point, well into this experience, I said to God, I know I know I haven't just earned this lifetime. I know that. And even though I knew nothing about reincarnation, but I said, what do I do with this? I know it isn't just for me. And he said, don't ask, you'll find out. Okay. So again and again, I had to wrestle with the imperfections in me. And finally, I almost felt clear, almost clear. But I realized there was still this one huge boulder inside me, between me and God. And it was that I didn't yet experience him fully inside me. And finally, this one day, my awareness went from here down to I think would be called the dell, the deep heart under the physical heart we're used to. And these gorgeous, arched and curved, thick golden doors appeared in this place. And they opened gradually. And there was this incredible light inside, this alive light. And there was an invitation from God, from nameless God, come inside to me. And I stepped inside there, and I could feel the wonder of this infinite light and infinite love. And he said to me, this is who I am, and this is who you are. And this is who everybody is. They just tell themselves there's something different. And in that moment, I felt fulfilled, utterly fulfilled. And I had the thought, I could die, and I am utterly satisfied with this life. I was clear. But I didn't die. And then I had the quick thought in my head, oh God, what if this ends? But I knew, don't even bring that up to God. And then after a while, this whole thing went on for at least a year. And gradually, to my horror, it did start to end, and no explanation. God had taught me, don't ask me for anything, and don't ask me about anything. So I couldn't ask him, in obedience to him, what was going on. Did I do something? And I watched myself basically kind of fall apart over the period of the next several years. And it was enormously painful. And I actually felt like, even though I knew nothing about reincarnation, I felt like I had gone backwards into a previous life in terms of falling apart and the suffering of my own ego self. It was just so uncomfortable. It was awful. So that, there were tremendous struggles during that time, and, I became suicidal. But with Baba's grace, I got through that. And I decided finally, I've got to do something. I got to make some kind of effort. And I said, I know it's kind of dumb, but I'll train myself to go out for the football team in college. So I focused on that for months. And then Christmas time, 1970, a friend of mine called up, and this was a devoted hedonist, always looking for the next good time. And he said to me in this different kind of voice, have you heard of Baba? And I said, no, I don't think so. Oh, you mean that Baba Ramdas guy? And he said, no, this is Mayor Baba. This is different. And I said, no. And he said, well, our friend Steve wants to tell us about him tonight. So we got together, and this guy named Steve Prescott told us what he had learned in the University of Miami. And some of it was a little cockeyed, but it was the first introduction to Baba. While Steve was talking, and I was an angry young man at that point. God was inaccessible to me. But suddenly I realized I was smiling uncontrollably in spite of myself. And after a couple of moments, again, my awareness went back to the same deep heart center. The same golden doors appeared that had been there several years before. They opened up, and Mayor Baba was standing inside, alive, at maybe 40, 45 years old, wearing a white sadra, and he beckoned me, come in. And I stepped in. I was before him, and he said to me, do you remember nameless God? And I got knocked backwards because I'd never told anybody, never. And I said, yeah, why? I was kind of hesitant. He said, that was me. And there was no question in that moment. There's never been a question who Mayor Baba is, because nobody else could have asked me that and said that. And I said, well, what do I do now? And he said, now it's your turn to work your way back to me. And I said, well, how do I do that? And he went, good luck. And he turned around inside me, and he walked away. And I said, are you kidding me? Good luck? You serious? But he put a little drop of love into my heart. It was just enough to get me making effort again, which I did in various ways. And, but I said to him, you son of a gun, my God, you don't make it easy. But, the experiences of 15, 16 years old did not come back. And in fact, except for rare glimpses, have never since come back in all the years since, except for rare glimpses, and I'll mention that. So then finally, and I'd left college for the second time, and I called Kitty Davy, and oh yeah, I ended up going to the center for the first time the summer of 71. Like Jeff mentioned, we met. And then I called Kitty Davy eventually, a couple of years later, about possibly moving down to Myrtle Beach. And she said, well, finish college. So I did that. I'll also say that I think the first time in the center, I was walking by the shop in the center, which is kind of the central place, the office place of all construction and maintenance on the center. And I looked in, and I remember thinking, wouldn't it be incredible to do carpentry here? And I wasn't a carpenter. You know, I was working on a degree in psychology in college, but I had that thought. So anyway, I finished college, and Baba definitely gave me an inner welcome before I actually moved down here. But I did move down 1974. And I didn't just want to be near the center and programs and reading books and going to meetings. I really wanted to know what's it really like to live with and for Mayor Baba. And I figured I really wanted to get to know and learn from Kitty Davy and Elizabeth Patterson, and eventually Jane Haynes, and people who live there. What's it really like? So Jeff mentioned that I worked total of about a year and a half in the Black communities. And that all came out of that drive in me. You know, and that was work that was blessed by Baba, work that Elizabeth and Jane were very involved with, and Kitty was very supportive of. Life-changing work, utterly life-changing. Many stories about that. And eventually, some of us are working on trying to put a book together about the years of working with that nonprofit agency called Community Volunteer Services. But again, just life-changing experience, finding really the best in humanity, also some of the worst, you know, experiencing some racism, but definitely touching the heart. And so I ended up becoming a project coordinator for two their renovation projects on donated buildings that were moved to these two different sites. And just met some of the most remarkable Black people there. And really set the tone, I think, for the rest of my life, you know, since then. I spent about 2.5 years as an addictions counselor. After that, state certified addictions counselor, and quite remarkable work. But I wasn't totally drawn about pursuing that. And I said to Bob, I ended up living here almost 6 years, and I had said to him, you're going to have to kick me out of here if you want me to leave. And eventually I felt like he did. And things just folded up. They closed up for me. But by then I was married, had a toddler at that point, and moved back to Massachusetts to look at graduate schools. And wasn't very promising at all. And then I was called by a friend. He said, I've got too much carpentry and painting work. Can you help me? And I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So started doing that. More work came out of that. Out of that, I ended up going to Cape Cod, Massachusetts for work. People saw our work, which led to more work. I was able to get Don McBride, who'd become my friend in Myrtle Beach, to join me there for several years. And he's a brother of Lee McBride, who runs all the construction and maintenance on the center. And I always thought I'd be getting out of construction. It was temporary. But it kept going on, and I had a family to support. But along the way, I really didn't like conflict. So in my construction, I really worked at being as personable as I could, treating people as well as I could, and that was customers, subcontractors, people working in supply houses, everybody. Being as honest and fair as I could be and forthright, being cheerful. And eventually I really developed a reputation with all of this. And eventually some people said to me, you should write a book about this. It's so unusual. It's not what people expect in construction. And eventually I started taking training about working with people. I took coaching training, organizational training. I became a mediator and I took a lot of advanced training with it. And I really thought, okay, I'm developing a new career here. That's what's happening. I was convinced of that. And at one of the early trainings I was at, a therapist from Colorado said to me, you're going to change the world with what you're working at. Just do it before somebody else does. And I had a lot of encouragement, and then I was told, you really have to write a book, if you really want credibility. So I wrote a book, and that took 4 years to do that and get it published. And I kept making efforts, and I was able to stop working for a while, but was never able to actually get a business off the ground. And then had to go back to work, and there was a lot of struggle. Along the way, I think 2003, I had a perfect storm of illnesses. I brought a Lyme tick with me on a trip to India, and it was discovered in Paris, and a doctor there took it out, put alcohol on me, said, you'll be okay. Well, I wasn't. He didn't know about Lyme disease, and I didn't either. And I went to India to work with Ted Judson. And after a month of working, I got horribly ill. And it was a combination of the Lyme disease, chemical poisoning from some work I was doing, and intestinal parasites all at the same time. And it beat the living heck out of me. Nobody could figure out what was going on. And it also started a chain of health issues. But in the midst of it all, it was holding on to Baba, and just feeling that he was breaking me down, one in very creative ways, one way after another. And when the illnesses first hit very hard in India, my mind actually basically shut down on me. It basically stopped functioning. I couldn't follow a conversation. I couldn't read. I saw letters dancing around, numbers dancing before me. My body temperature plummeted. My blood sugar went up. Blood pressure went up. Anyway, things were thrown into great disarray. And I really had to rely on Baba. And that definitely holds true. So eventually I was able to get back to work and gradually kind of rebuild my brain, what there is of it now. But I'll say that out of that experience, it's interesting. I feel like some different sensibilities and sensitivities have been opened in me. Now, Jeff mentioned the heart-centered meditations, and that's something that has come into my life since the whole illness experience and the breaking down. And I don't know that that would have happened without the breaking down having happened. I tend to think not. So I met a wonderful woman. I got divorced after 30 years of marriage, and eventually I moved to Virginia. Daniel Stone, a lot of you know, he asked me if I'd like to look at doing some work at his townhouse. And I ended up doing that. And he finally said, why don't you just stay here? You're working on developing this new career and you're closer to Washington. There's more going on there. So I stayed and had a lot of work there. And while I was there, I met a wonderful woman who is in the next room. And she's a wonderful spiritual soul. And that was a very unexpected bonus of being there. But 10 years ago, I moved back here. And again, still thinking, okay, I'll do carpentry, but I still have this other career developing. And through LinkedIn, I ended up connecting with a woman who was forming this group of like-minded and like-hearted consultants. And we did some work together, and it kept being promising things, number of promising things, but nothing ever really got off the ground. And I finally just let it go after 20 years of effort with it. And I finally said, Baba, seems to me like what you're really giving me, what you're really focusing on giving me is work on the center with you, with doing carpentry on your center. And what a gift that is. So that's what I focus on these days, along with some things like, the meditation that Jeff mentioned. But, I'd say some capacities have been opened in me. I took training in something called energy attunement. And that's also a marvelous thing. And there's a very spiritual man named Andrew Shire I learned this from. And, it opens some portals into some, how should I say, just some more subtle realms that we might not be used to. It's becoming more mainstream. And with the meditation, I'll lead you on. You'll see more what I'm talking about. I'll give a little bit of a lead in with the meditation. I took a number of trainings along the way of, thinking I was developing consulting career and more mediation. And in one of them, one morning, one of the trainers said, okay, now I'm going to teach you to send love to the back of someone's heart. And I sat bolt upright. I want to hear this. And he taught us real quickly about picturing someone, focusing on them, and sending love to them, making the effort to send love. And I was very struck with this, and he had us test it out. Also told us a story of how he applied it in an event in his own life of tremendous conflict with this miraculous outcome. And I was in the midst of my divorce at the time, and my wife had this very adversarial attorney, and he kept messing things up. She and I would have an agreement, and he'd come along and say, no, no, let's mess it up. And I finally got so frustrated. I tried talking to her. She wouldn't listen. And I said, it's your attorney. And then finally one night I said, Bob, what do I do? And I said, wait a minute, I learned this thing. It was at Harvard Law School, the training. I said, maybe I should try this sending love thing that I just learned. So I pictured my wife and I just started sending love, and also the attorney. And it felt good, but I felt like this isn't enough. And what came to me was, what if I could focus on sending Baba's love to her heart? And the way I originally learned it was to the back of the heart. And now I say filling the heart all the way through, all the way to the back. So I pictured Baba's love pouring into her. And that really felt good. It really did. And I pictured the attorney also. A couple of weeks later, my attorney called me and she said, I don't know what's come over your wife's attorney, but now he's got a new agreement he's proposing, but this one's actually better for you. So let's take that agreement. And we did. It was like something came over this guy. He didn't know what it was. My wife called me a couple of weeks later and she said, I know the things you've been studying with the healing and so on. And she said, I want to ask for your help. I'm having an awful time with these phobias I have. And I knew just hearing her voice, something is utterly different, utterly different. Her voice was soft and vulnerable. And I said, I'm so touched. I'm so touched. And there was no conflict. Any conflict was just gone between us. It was melted. And I listened to her and I said, I don't think it's appropriate that I work with you. What if I get somebody else? And she said, okay. And I did. And in a couple of sessions, this other woman had her fine with her phobias. And anyway, I've been able to bring those sensitivities to working with people sometimes. And it's become a great gift. And I feel it's something that we all have an opening with Baba, and you'll experience more of what we'll do in a short time there. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, yes. I want to come full circle on a couple of things. I mentioned that my mother was the most difficult person in my life. When I was somewhere in my 40s, I was sitting in the Samadhi in India alone, and I was kind of complaining about my mother to Baba. And I said, my mother, she drove me to God. And he said, stop. He said, listen to that. She gave you the greatest gift she could have given you. She drove you to me. And that blew me backwards and utterly changed my sense of perspective, my sense of the connection of my mother and me in this lifetime. Also the karma, different lifetimes, and what Baba knows that I don't know, that we don't know. So that was a remarkable experience. And I made a decision at that point to simply treat her the best I could the rest of her life, which I did, which really, really worked out well. And then again, with the work I'm doing on the center, I go back to that first visit on the center and looking in the shop, and that quick fantasy, wouldn't it be incredible to do carpentry work here and then, have it come true in a big way. So, Jeff, I think I've said my piece.
Yeah, beautiful. Am I audible?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me. Yeah. No, lovely. And if there, he's going to lead us on this heart-centered meditation, but any questions? We got one there.
Yeah, Richard,
What's your son's first name?
I have a daughter,
Oh, daughter. Sorry. What's your daughter's first name?
Katrina. Yeah. Yeah, Diane and Terry.
Yeah, so I was going to call on ourselves. Go ahead.
So I was curious too as to what happened to the toddler. Do you have a good relationship with them, with her?
You mean my wife?
No,
No.
your daughter.
Katrina.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a great relationship. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you said. No, it's a great relationship. I'm trying to work out, they live in Massachusetts. I'm trying to work out getting a visit with them this summer. But she's I think, a wonderful soul. She got to come to the very first two youth Sahavas, and she's turning 47 this summer. But she's a marvelous lady and has a wonderful husband and son.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just have one other question. Where from Massachusetts are you from?
I'm sorry.
Where are you from in Massachusetts?
Well, I grew up mainly in a suburb, Belmont, out just west of Boston. It's a small town,
Mhm.
borders on Cambridge. But then I spent almost 30 years on Cape Cod, unexpectedly. Yeah.
All right. What
Yeah.
part?
What
Pat?
Pat?
What part of the cave?
The nice Pat.
The nice part.
Well, I lived mostly in Falmouth, and then I spent a few years in Sandwich. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. This was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I hope something came across there. Yeah,
Very much
Yeah.
so.
good.
Let's go to Chicago with Marcia.
Marcia,
I just want to thank you for sharing your story, and I've done your heart meditation, and it's remarkable, and it's just really very important to hear what you've said to us, and I can identify with a lot of things. So just thank you. I'm gonna call on you to get over something that's holding me back. Sometimes you got one little thing, that to let go of, and it's hard,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Well, thank you, Marcia. Thank you. Marion.
Hi, it's Mary in New York City.
Yeah,
I've done some of your meditations some while back. I'm looking forward to it. So I usually I don't have a question. And it just felt very superficial, kind of. I don't have enough words to say how your sharing affected me because there are no words for it. So I'll do my best because I felt it just deepened my connection with my heart and with my knowingness and with challenges that I'm going through, of a deeper connection of knowing that, I'm being dragged through all of this out of love. And so thank you so much, because your sharing has an energy that is very, very healing. Thank you.
oh, thanks, Marion. I'm glad.
Beautifully said, Marion. Yeah.
So am I allowed to say something?
Oh, it's you, yes.
It's you. It's you. I just wanted to say, I've heard Stuart share this, and having been with him and knowing how much the work on the center touches his heart, knowing that he's doing that work and just how heart-centered he is. You've heard him share tonight, but I've just never known anybody that's been so compassionate, so heart-centered, and just so real, so authentic. And I just it's great to have been here and to share him with all of you and to hear your comments. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
say that. So thanks for allowing
Beautiful.
me.
Thank you.
Very.
Me, Mary.
Yeah.
Mary Barrett.
Hey, Stuart.
Hi there.
We lived on Cape Cod. I've known Stuart since 72, maybe, shortly after when you were first coming to the center. But anyway, I just wanted to say hi, and I sent you a little a text in the chat. So
Oh, okay.
I don't want to take any time, but it's wonderful to see you. It really is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
So,
Let's go back to California and talk to Marta.
Yeah, hi, Stuart.
hi, Martha.
Hi, dear. I wanted to ask you, the beginning of your story sounds like an angelic fairy tale. Was there a human man in there doing really, human stuff while you were talking to God, or were you in this realm of transformation, kind of removed from, lust and greed and anger and jealousy?
Well, there was no other person. I wasn't reading anything. This was all internal, all God opening himself to me and letting me know he was nameless, formless God. And in terms of being, separated from lust and greed and anger and all that, no, I wasn't separated from it, but what he opened inside me after a while was so glorious that it was stronger than anything else, but along the way, like I mentioned, those boulders that would come toward me, they were, they weren't like heavy lust, greed, anger, but parts of my ego. But then after the whole thing was taken away, then all hell broke loose. It's like it was fair game for everything from this lifetime and lifetimes before to come surging and roaring forth. So does that answer you, Marta?
Yes, yes. And I have a second question also, Stuart. You
Yeah.
mentioned that you decided to treat everyone kindly and with love. Was that correct? Something
Yes.
like that you made a
Ye-
decision somewhere along the way?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that mean? Was it an active thing that you thought of every day? Or did you get up and say, okay, Bob, I'm offering you the day and do with me what you want? Or how was that?
It's a great question. So I do have to start my day with Baba in different ways. I have to set the tone with Baba being with me, and I say the prayers. I also repeat, Mir Baba, I now begin entrusting all thoughts, words, and deeds to you. And I just repeat his name inwardly. I talk to him while I'm working. I'll say, all right, Baba, what are we going to do here? Okay, thanks. But early on as a teenager, I have to say, God taught me about stepping toward others in kindness. So I think maybe I kind of had a foot in the door already that as an adult, I kind of it's like I had a blueprint for it in a sense. So it means for me, stepping out of the me I'm used to, like going out of my way to say something kind, friendly, ask a question about somebody else. So I learned in my construction, and I learned to pursue this with customers. And after a while, I'd sit them down and I'd say, okay, we've worked out details of the project. That's great. I want to have another conversation, which is equally as important, and it's about our relationship. So I want to take great care of you. I want us to keep up clear and open communication together. I'm not going to be available 24/7, but I am accessible to you. I want you to be happy at the end of this project. So how does this sound? Say that to people, and people saying to me, never expected to hear anything like that in our lives. You know, we can't wait to begin. And then I realized I had to keep doing it, you know, and construction can have a lot of complications and frustrations and you know, and there are times I really had to work at okay, you know, trying to put up the cheerful face here. But and honestly, it opened a door to a wonder of connection with people. A lot of my customers became friends, subcontractors became friends. And I felt answered beyond the efforts that I made. You know, the efforts that I made toward being kind, helpful, cheerful, humorous, it came back to me even more so. And it opened a bigger world. It just opened a bigger world. Does that answer you?
Yes, it does. And it's just the power of intention also, correct? The
Yes.
intention that you had. And then as soon as I have that intention, then I'll be showing the direction and how to do it and that
Yes.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I say to Baba, I'm taking your light and love with me today.
Oh, that's
And then
lovely. Yeah.
I try to carry that and I get, you know, little reminders. Okay, carry the light and love and see what happens with it. But the intention, very important and very important. Just touching base with Baba during the day, you know, letting him know. I mean, maybe you're already doing it. Maybe you are, but you know, just letting him know what you're up to. And you know, I've had many very surprising things come out of that whole way of being, you know, and trying to be that way. Thanks.
I'm gonna call on myself.
Okay, so
Uh, what, one of the things that I find so valuable, especially with late night, is how people talk about how they work with Baba internally on navigating through their own lives. So when something does not go your way, something maybe tragic happens, how do you reconcile that, being a Baba lover?
sometimes that's quite hard. You know, the challenge can be very big, but I always have to turn to Baba. And, you know, I'm convinced that he knows what's going on with everything and that ultimately everything's for our own good. You know, I am convinced of that. But it can be hard stuff to swallow. You know, so I take him inwardly. Something happened recently. I got very upset with myself making a mistake at work, and I'm hard on myself. That comes from early age and probably a past life. I got very upset, and then it came to me. Well, say the prayer of repentance, and I did at work. And while I was saying it, I realized, oh my God, every word and deed of uh, hatred and selfishness toward myself, you know, hatred and anger. And it's not just people out there, it's also myself. That was the first time I ever heard the repentance prayer in that way in 54 years now. So anyway,
Beautiful. Yeah.
another part of it.
Yeah, that's a wonderful insight there, that it also pertains to ourselves,
Yeah.
self-compassion.
Richard there. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one question for you, Stuart, since
Yeah.
you're in charge of a lot of this. I love the center. I've been there a few times, but I was curious, do you know, or are you working on Phyllis Ott's old house, an art studio? Are you going to convert that to a place for people to stay?
Oh, goodness. The house is gone.
It is.
The house has been taken down. It was too far gone.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The-
Thank you.
The studio, which I've been working on for months, that's what I've been working on the last number of months. The studio is being converted into a furniture archive building for Baba. So a bit of a workshop and some storage of some special furniture related to Baba. And the powers that be are really honest to get the building open so they can use it. But it's coming along very well. So yeah, Richard, I'll tell you what, if I can get your information, I'll send you some pictures.
Oh, I'd love it.
All right.
I was there 5 years ago and I asked about it, but Phyllis was in care still. Shannon
Yeah.
passed away. Well, thank you, Al. Love that. Thanks, Stuart.
I'll find out how to reach you and
Okay.
I'll do that. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Stu, I'm thinking, since we're getting kind of late, we
Yes.
should probably do the heart-centered meditation. We have
Sounds like a winner.
all these people from California. They got an easy life. But here, we suffer. to get. So, yeah.
All right. So you ready, Jeff?
Yeah. So everybody should mute themselves.
Okay, Jai Baba. So we're going to go on a little journey with Baba here. So start breathing into your belly. And we'll keep up this breathing throughout. And keep your eyes closed. And settle into wherever you're sitting or laying. And just let yourself be supported. And let the day just kind of melt away from you. And as you keep breathing into your belly, now let's bring attention to your heart and your heart center that I spoke of before. And this is the home in all of us of Meher Baba's infinite, unconditional love. And he says that we have this pool and this flow of this infinite love all the time, 24 hours a day, always available to us. So just take note of what you see and feel as you have your attention in your deep heart area. And now And now, I'd like you to pick someone, use with your heart as your guide, someone who you would like to share Mayor Baba's infinite love with. And this could be one person, it could be more than one person, could be a group even, but let your heart be your guide. And as you do this process that we're going to be doing, sharing Baba's infinite love, can be incredibly powerful in the event of conflict, past and present. It can be incredibly healing and soothing. Wonderful thing for somebody going through a lot. And it can be beautiful just to share it with somebody who you simply want to share more love with, more of Baba's love with. So again, let your heart be your guide. And as we do this, we're not trying to change anybody. We're not trying to bring about any particular happening. We're really opening ourselves to the magic and the wonder of Baba's infinite love. So now get a good picture of whoever it is you're choosing in your mind and your heart. And as you see them and you feel them, bring your awareness to their heart and their heart center. And this is really the connecting place between all of us, this universal heart. And as you see them before you and you're paying attention to their deep heart, take note of what you see and feel as you do this. And now let's picture Mayor Baba's infinite, unconditional love. This flowing steadily, pouring into their heart and their heart center. And filling every bit, every little corner. And I see this warm, delicious, liquid golden light of love. That's carrying its wonder and brightness with it. And this infinite love has amazing qualities, and some of them, this love is healing and soothing, it's uplifting, it's inspiring, it's expansive, it's forgiving, it's creative. And this infinite love all comes from Mayor Baba is an endless gift. And now let's see and feel the love flowing so fully that it's overflowing from the heart of whoever you're picturing. And it's flowing right through the heart as it continues to fill. And now it's filling every bit of their being, every bit of body, mind, and soul, on every dimension, as it continues to fill the heart at the same time. And we never know the wonders that this love might bring, because it does. And let's just sit for a few moments with the flow of Baba's love. And now let's give thanks to Mayor Baba for being able to focus on sharing his infinite love with those who you've chosen. And know that you can return here again and again, anytime. This infinite love warehouse is always open. And let's bid farewell to them for now. And gently bring your attention back to your own heart and heart center. And breathe in. Picture breathing into your heart and your heart center. And take note of what you might see and feel. And now let's start to picture Baba's infinite, unconditional love pouring into our own hearts. Out of his infinite beauty and fullness and kindness. And see and feel this love filling our hearts completely, bringing all its incredible qualities, its healing and soothing, its uplifting, its enlightening, it's inspiring, it's expansive, It's forgiving. It's endlessly creative. And again, I see this beautiful, warm, liquid, golden light of love that's flowing fully into our hearts. And now flowing so fully that it's overflowing and it's flowing through our hearts all at the same time. And it's filling every bit of our being, every bit of body, mind, and soul as it continues to fill our hearts endlessly. So let's sit for a few moments with this wondrous love flowing into our hearts and beings, and knowing that we never know what kind of wonders may happen from this. Let's just take one more moment. And now let's give thanks to Meher Baba for being able to focus on the flow, endless flow of his infinite love into our hearts and beings. This love is always available. He invites us to partake. So let's gently bring ourselves back to our surroundings. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So Jeff, you want to take a little bit of time for sharing, you think? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit late, but maybe with anyone who wants to share something, I mean, anybody can check out whenever because it is late
Yeah.
on the East Coast here. But wonderful. And I just let me mention again is that we do this like every second week normally on Wednesday of the month. So if you need to kind of get a nice center yourself deeply in Baba on that week, is, feel free to join. But anybody like, oh, there, we have this coming from Germany here.
Wow.
Johannes and Sabine.
Good morning, Stu. Well, it's evening for you, but it's morning for us. Lovely. Thank you for your sharing. It really sort of touched on a few points with me. But I wanted to ask, do you record the meditation? Because I think the time you do it, it's 1 o'clock in the morning for us. So I don't think we would manage.
I try to remember to record them. Many of them are recorded on Effort and Grace with Jeff previously, and some of them are recorded on Baba Zoom. So
Almost
you
everybody.
you can find some.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, because you can almost go with any of them. You know, if you have just one recording, it doesn't have to be the same, a
Yeah.
different one each time. Yeah.
We'll go to Marcia and then to Keldon.
I just wanted to remind people that on Tuesdays, we sing the 7 names of God every Tuesday, and that's a good thing if anybody wants to tune on Baba Zoom. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Keldon.
I loved your story, Stuart. I feel like I've known you for a long time. Every time I'm with you and you do this, it fills me with joy. And I think it really helps whoever Baba leads me to choose. Our dear Susan Paul, who had a terrible accident in India and has finally arrived in Asheville about, I think, 3 months ago. So I chose her, and I was inspired to choose my ex-husband, who is not a nice man. And it felt so great. I think it worked, and my 2 children as well. So my family unit got this wonderful blessing from our dear beloved Baba, and I hope that this helps Susan Paul. She is receptive to all happy thoughts. She's hoping that she's able to move to her place here in Asheville when her Social Security benefits, or Medicare, I guess it is, benefits tap out. So she had to have 2 medical assistants fly with her from India to the United States and then to Asheville. And she has just really had, boy, got rid of a lot of sarn scars, I'm sure.
Wow.
So hold Suzanne Paul in your memories and thoughts and prayers, and I'm sure she'll appreciate it. Thanks. I have to go to bed. It's very late.
Thanks so much.
Hey, Baba. Thank you so much, Stuart. I'll be here again.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Tony.
Hi, Stuart. Thanks so much. I've been to at least 1, maybe 2 of your meditations, and I remember I enjoyed it a lot. But tonight, I'm in the process of packing up this room, big room I'm in, which is my music studio, my library, and it's all got to be packed up for some work that has to be done in the room in a few days after Silence Day. And I've been walking quietly through a state of panic as best I can. And the biggest help in dealing with that was this meditation tonight.
Oh, good.
Feel very peaceful about the whole thing, and
Good, Tony. Good, Tony. I'll think of you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and Sabine, did you have your hand raised again, or it was just my
Yes,
turn?
because Baba wanted me to mention something. On Friday, it's the 90th anniversary of his visit to Fallenflue in Switzerland, where he did this deep work, and 8 Baba lovers are meeting. So, we're meeting at 12 at the flue, at the Fallenflue. So maybe one or two of you want to join in.
Will it be in
That's-
Zoom, you mean, or?
No, 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 no. We will just be meeting. But, in spirit, in your heart, you could join
Okay.
in.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention it that we're doing that.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Right.
Just a quick story about that. Baba went into meditation on this kind of cliffside, but when he was there, he posted people, maybe 50 feet away on all sides on this slope, but it's also a public property. And so, a couple of hikers suddenly appeared, and Walter Mertens was the one at the lower end of this, protecting Baba and trying to keep people. And he didn't quite know what to do because it is a public park or whatever. And so what he said is, this is what occurred to him. He said there are high voltage experiments going on up there. I wouldn't go there. and that did the trick. That's great thinking. High voltage experiments
That's great.
at Fallenflue, yeah. But really, thank you, Stu. This was wonderful, and I hope you get the chance to meet Stu. I mean, he's like an embodiment of goodwill. Truly, I mean, I've known him all these years, and he'll give you his best. He does. Is that kind of person?
I do have one question to ask
Yeah.
Stuart.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that will keep me up at night. Stuart, you had said that you thought you wanted to be a carpenter at the center, but you didn't know you weren't a carpenter. You were a psych student. But then you got hired as a carpenter for Cape Cod. How did that happen?
No, well, it was kind of a fantasy when I looked in the shop the first time. I just thought, wouldn't it be incredible to do carpentry here? I didn't have a goal of being a carpenter there. It's just this wonderful fantasy. So I ended up working for a couple of builders and woodworkers. Actually, in 1976, I think, I was a carpenter's helper on the building of the meeting place on the center. So that was the first time. But then I got to work with skilled people and just developed a career out of it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. So, anybody got a good quote to end with? Oh. Anybody?
Maybe you do.
I'll see if I can find one real quickly here. Wow, the second. I'm getting there. Ooh, wow, let's see. Uh-oh. Oh, Baba. I kind of blew it here. Wait. Sorry about this, folks.
Jeff, I just ran across one if you'd like me to do one.
Okay, you go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. This is from Lord Mahir. Don't worry. My love will give you that strength and conviction which makes you feel that you belong to God. Seek truth with all your heart, and Baba will help. I'm in this world to help people to love God, to find Him, and to see Him. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah,
Yeah,
read
beautiful.
that. Read that once again, and we'll have a few moments of silence, and then Nasreen will bid us good night.
Okay, Baba said, don't worry. My love will give you that strength and conviction which makes you feel that you belong to God. Seek truth with all your heart, and Baba will help. I am in this world to help people to love God, to find Him, and to see Him. So, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Nasreen.
Thank you,
Jai
Jeff.
Baba.
Thank you, Jeff.
Stu, thank you. That was
Thank you,
wonderful.
Jeff.
Thank
Really.
you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
really glad your story is, recorded and people will be able to hear it. I mean, it's because some people they pass on and you never got their story. So we've got your story. Well, you're still.
Happy Silence Day to everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes. All right. Much love.
Jai Baba.
Night.
Yeah.
Much
Jai
love to you.
Baba.
Jai Baba, Jeff.
Jeff,
Jai
thank
Baba.
you.
To you
Jai
guys.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you,
Jai
Mara.
Baba.
Hey, Nasreen, I'm going to be out there in Los Angeles. Do you know that?
Wonderful. Yes, I heard about it.
Okay.
Welcome.
Good.
You
Somebody
are
with a
quite
big mouth.
welcome.
I don't know who that could be.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I like to invite you in my house if there is any chance.
Yeah, well, we'll see how everything plays out. I'm going to go up to Maher Mount and
Yes.
various places. But yeah, I'll have that in mind. And
Oh, please, please.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy to have you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Much love. Let's see. I don't know
Much
how to
love
get
to
out of
you.
here.
Okay. Jai Baba.
All right. Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba, Jai
Danusha,
Baba.
thank you for,
Thank you. Yes.
yeah, she gave him 5 cups of coffee just to make it.
Oh, and Jeff, there was a paid advertisement there, so.
Not.
Nah.
Much love. Okay. See you guys.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Good night, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Good night.